Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes in the blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together and strive forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness in my hands. Life is so grand. A voice in my heart helps me move forward. Life is no longer stranded. The world is grand. Life is in my hands. Love always helps me move forward. Always cultivate before time fades away. Time passes, blink of an eye. We cannot go back in time. Let's get together, stride forward. Love always helps me move forward. Make my life shine and be the star of life. It's always bright. Love always reminds me to move forward. Time is ticking and slipping away. Love always reminds me to move forward. Winds blow and clouds come and go. Love always reminds me to move forward. Happiness to move forward. Endless happiness makes my life so grand. An amazing life is always in my hands.
Ryan, your microphone.
Thank you. Hello, and welcome to our Super Life Secret Codes online workshop. My name is Ryan Sway, and first I'd like to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. Also, want to thank our panelists and everybody watching from around the world. Super Life Secret Codes teaches us how to take control of life using energy management. The book was written as a life manual, focusing on the two codes of love and gratitude. If used properly, these two codes can help us achieve success in every aspect of our lives. Okay, welcome everyone. And tonight we are again reading in the Abundance book. And we are talking about abundance and how to maintain it. Previously, we talked about mind switching, and we talked about even before that, being confident and humble at the same time, which I think does require a lot of mind switching, because too often people can be confident and to the verge of too confident, where people feel like you're arrogant. And then sometimes people are too humble and maybe they get kind of taken advantage of or pushed around a little bit. So the results of those two different types of positioning or behavior, it really can add to your data and kind of create your roadmap, if you will. So that balance is very important. And then in terms of how do we balance that, we have to look at the mind switching. That's a great tool to help us achieve that. Oftentimes, when we are doing something, say, very strongly, we have to mind switch at those moments to make sure that the effect of what we're doing, even if it is right, doesn't offend other people. And I think this is a common area that a lot of people make this mistake. Maybe it's the concern or the anxiety of trying to be right about something, and when you do find that you are right, you push that through without any kind of monitoring of how that affects other people. You've seen this, people talk about learn how to be a good loser, but also learn how to be a good winner. And some people aren't very good when they win. It's the dance and the yelling and kind of in everybody's face type thing, and people don't really like that. Well, in life, there's also people who are fighting to be right. And sometimes they grab hold of the idea that they're right and they rub it in everybody's faces. Um, Sometimes it's not intentional, but sometimes it is. It's their way to either protect themselves or to try to ensure that they get the recognition that they want, or maybe they're defending themselves. And that's also a situation where it's a lot of our energy management. Think about most of the times that you have to defend yourself. How do you typically feel? Most people in those moments are, you know, frustrated or, pressured. It's not a good energy. Thus the name, defense. It's kind of, you're reacting to something. So a lot of times you can bring out this energy that is not confident anymore. It's almost attacking somebody. And so you think about that in your own day-to-day life. Sometimes you feel attacked, and when you respond, you bring that same energy. Um, with guys, it's a more common of a physical act, right? Somebody pushes me, they physically push me, then I physically push them back. Like that's kind of a guy's interaction. You see that all the time. If it's on TV or if you do go out to places and there's altercations, it usually starts with words, then a push and another push and then a fight. With women or with men to women, it's a slightly different dynamic. And so it becomes words. And people, want to get their point across. They want to be right. And so sometimes they overdo it. And that affects other people. And the net of that is negative energy. And I think that's something that we all have to be careful of. And that's where all of this leads us to, if we can do these things and we can achieve this level of abundance of, say, wealth or happiness, it's because we can balance all this and we can recognize when or what our effect is on other people. I think it's really important that we have that recognition. And I think a lot of times we don't. We're sometimes so worried about ourselves, like how we feel, that we overlook the other person. And the negative result of that is oftentimes the data. So if you think about this, if you have a grudge against somebody and it's you hold on to it, but you're trying not to, bring it up. You're trying to, be calm and be nice, but deep down you have this. Sometimes it's just a matter of time before a poke here and a poke there, or you let your guard down and what you're trying to keep out of the conversation finds its way into the conversation. And when that happens, I think that's a good gauge that maybe we have too much negative energy, and what we thought we could keep away from something ends up, again, getting mixed up into things. And then that creates that conflict again. Earlier today, I was in a workshop, and this particular person I was with, I asked them a very specific question, and their answer kept bringing in the past, sometimes days ago, weeks ago, sometimes years ago. And she couldn't stay on track. So I had to make it very specific. I said, can you just tell me about yesterday, 24 hours ago? Start from 8 a.m. and let's work through till the evening. Go by hour, 2 hours, and let's just focus on that. And believe it or not, even with that type of instruction, she kept going off and doing different things. And so in the end, I was using an analogy, and I was saying, like, this particular person has so much other energy that when you ask them to focus on the one, they can't keep everything out of it. And unfortunately for her, a lot of the other things she brought into it was kind of negative energy. Or today, which was interesting, some of it was almost kind of made up. It sounded like from her imagination. But anyway, the point being is that you have too much of this other energy. And what Master Sun teaches us is if we have a little bit of negative energy or call it a problem, we need to immediately fix it. Otherwise, it just stores into our database. So that's where things can get, really ugly. So kind of how does all this affect abundance? It's, do you have the ability to, one, monitor all this and recognize if you have these little issues? And then two, do you use the tools that Master Sun teaches us to eliminate this type of negative energy or this data? Because if we don't, it will be very difficult to find abundance. We might find moments of happiness. We might, have a good life, and things seem to be well. But if you have those moments where you lose it, there's a term in English, I'm not going to say it, but it's kind of, you lose your blank. That's a good indication that maybe the balance or the energy that we feel like we have, we're not as accurate with that. And today, the woman in the workshop was very much like that. For months, she would come in and talk about she has no negative energy. She pushes all the negative away. But then the more we talk about it, the more we realize that that isn't the case. A person, she's just not thinking about it. And today was an interesting day because she came in and the first thing she talked about was negative, and then it didn't stop. It was like I couldn't even get her to talk about positive anymore. She was so full of the negative. So I think that would be a good example of not having the tools or utilizing the tools yet to learn how to get rid of our negative energy. So again, as we talk about abundance and maintaining abundance, I think it's also important that we mention how do we even get to the point that we can achieve some abundance, and that would be utilizing all the tools that Master Sun has taught us. Um, so with that, that will be the topic for tonight. Now I'd like to introduce our panelists. We have Vivian from Walnut, California, and we have Amy from Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay, so with that, we'll begin reading in the Abundance book, and we'll start on page 287.
I think I will start.
Yes, and Vivian will start.
Yes. Master, if we come across issues, what should we do? Shouldn't we at least vent out our emotion?
We have said this previously. If you want to achieve abundance, stop complaining, cursing yourself, and blaming. You must hold a strong faith with full confidence and tell yourself that at this moment you are abundant. If you keep using all the negative words on yourself and hold tight to all the negative thoughts, your life will not be better. You need to discard all the negative thoughts. Understand?
I understand.
Whether you can apply this effectively depends on if you have put enough practice into it. People who want to join the circle of abundance abstain from all negative words, emotions, response, and conclusions.
We are human, and we will still get sick. What if we still feel we are suffering?
Even when you are suffering, you still need to work on switching your mind. Use the mind switching tool well to create boundless opportunities. It is time for you to choose sides. Do you want the abundant side or want otherwise?
Of course, I want the abundance side.
Since you choose the abundant side, you need to be prepared to work for it and stop all the what if, but if excuses. Monitor yourself, and if you regularly have negative thoughts when an emergency or issues pop up, then you will be drifting away from abundance.
Oh,
No matter what problems you come across, ensure you see the light of hope every second. Be wise to apply and blend all the methods I have taught you. Don't leave them behind. That will be a big loss to yourself. Okay, we can pause there. Vivian, would you like to share?
yes. Thank you for letting me read this section. Master Sun has given us a wonderful exercise here. When we encounter challenges or any issues, how should we respond? Should we simply vent out our emotions? Master Sun teaches us that we must stop complaining, cursing ourselves, and then blaming ourselves. If we are blaming others, if we keep using all the negative words on ourselves, we hold tight to all the negative thoughts. Our life will not be better, will not be improved. We must completely discard the negativity. This aligns with what I learned from弟Gui and Master Cai's teaching. He says thoughts dictate our behavior, and then habits shape our personality, and then finally personality determines our fate. This reminds me input and output concept that Master Song constantly emphasized in the workshop. Thoughts are the initial input. If the input is wrong at the first beginning, the output cannot possibly be correct. And it also reminds me of Master Song's workshop on the importance of self-positioning. If we position ourselves as victims, thinking, oh, I'm in a painful situation, I'm suffering, I'm unlucky, we will possibly go towards that exact destination. And I'm grateful to Master Song for providing us an important keyword, mind switching, in the section that I just read. By utilizing the mind switching tool effectively, we can have many great opportunities. Master Song always asks us which side we want to choose, the side of abundance or the opposite side. Naturally, everyone chooses abundance side. Therefore, we must eliminate the excuses driven by what ifs, but, and an if. We need to actively monitor ourselves and then keep negative thoughts away from us. This concept reminds me of a scenario involving two friends. Friend A and friend B plan a trip together. Friend B volunteered to handle all the logistics, including the itinerary, hotel, dining, and sightseeing. Friend A said, okay, you go ahead, do it. And then friend A happily left everything in friend B's hands, asking no question at all during the planning phase. However, when they arrived, the destination did not meet friend A's expectations at all, and in fact, turned out to be quite disappointing. In the material world, the reaction would be to complain and then blame the person who organized the trip, right? From this, I'm very grateful to apply Master Song's teachings to this situation as part of my spiritual cultivation. Let's just look at this scenario through two different ways. And then also let me play friend A's role. In the material world, the response will be, oh my God, why the friend B choose this place? Oh my God, this planning is terrible. This is regular people's reaction. If learning in Super Life Secret Code, the response should be, I should do the mind switching and then sincerely appreciate friend B because she was willing to take the responsibility to plan the entire trip and that she put a lot of efforts on it. This is worthy of appreciation. See, and then the next step is to apply self-reflection and the law of cause and effect. In the material world, without cultivation, friend A might think, friend B ruined my vacation and made me miserable. If learning in Super Life Secret Code, friend A should use mind switching to remind myself, as I play the friend A's role. I should say, hey, I choose not to participate in this plan at the first beginning. So I fully dedicate this job to friend B. So the root cause stems from my initial decision. So I must accept the resulting effect without complaining. So if I choose anger and then complaints, I will only put negative energy into this trip, which benefits neither friend B nor myself. Why not face this reality with a smile, humor, and kindness? By communicating sincerely with friend B, perhaps I should say, hey, even this trip didn't go perfectly. The best part is that we can catch up and then experience something new together. We can then build up a warm, positive atmosphere. This is what we create a win-win situation by using the mind switching and also appreciation. So I really appreciate Master Song's teaching, which reminded us always focus on maintaining the correct mindset and the logical thinking. It is just like we plant the seed while we must continuously provide positive inputs, just like sunshine, water, air, and the fertilizer. And then we also need to diligently pull out the weeds in our life. These weeds are just like the 5 poisons, and also the ego and the bad habits. Only by clearing those weeds of those bad habit, ego, whatever, away, and then we can truly harvest abundance. Thank you. This is just my sharing.
Thank you, Vivian, for your sharing. Ooh, let me change this. So, I heard, as you're sharing about this situation, where the win-win. I wonder, like in your own personal life, do you have an example for your mind switching? Is there a moment that kind of helps you, or that you can think of recently, or?
I'm thinking about chatting with my mom. She's she's past her 93 years old birthday. Yeah, every day we chat, and then because at this older age, she keep on thinking the old time, okay, all the things that when I was at college, she want me to switch from one department to accounting department. She want me to major in accounting. She said, "Hey, accounting, you can find a good job for the future, okay?" Because I used to be in banking department. Yeah. So she thinks banking limited my career, only can work at bank. So she pushed me, she forced me to transfer to accounting, accounting, to study accounting at that time. Okay, she still remember because I was not happy to transfer to major in accounting. She recently still think about the old time. She said, "Hey, at that time when I talked to you, and then to transfer to accounting, and then you didn't want to talk to me for 6 months." She keep on saying it, and then before joining Super Life Psychical, I might be just, "Ma, stop, okay, stop complaining. It's done, okay. Right now I graduate already, okay." And then I work, and then I say, "Don't talk about the old time story, okay?" So I will probably just talk back. But now I do my switching. Ma, you have a good memory. You are good. And then you have energy, so you can keep on talking. This is why I use my switching instead of talking back. Because talking back, I will make her bring up all the, bad memory. Like at that time I was young, and I was not happy. I kind of like didn't respect my mom, because I know when she made decisions, she want me to have a good future. Yeah, she thinks accounting, I can find every company needs accountant. So that's why she said, "Hey, I force you because I want you to have a good job." But at that time, I didn't recognize her planning, her thinking. So right now, I totally understand. So even now, once a while, she still mention it, still remember it. I stopped talking back at my switch. I said, "Ma, thank you so much. Ma, I know you are planning everything for us. Mom, I love you." So I at my switch, I'm not talking back anymore. Thank you. It's just my sharing.
Thank you, Vivian. That's great. Yeah, I mean, the effect of something like that, I think, is so powerful. It kind of reminds me of something I was talking to Amy about, and we mentioned it I mentioned in the intro, is that this negative energy, that it's data, right? And that data stays in our system. Like your mom remembers that, that she did this, even though she did good, but maybe in the back of her mind, she remembers some of that negative energy. And as you're growing up, each time that comes out, if the data is still there, untouched, it's still negative energy. And I think that's what Master Sun teaches us, is that we have to get rid of those things, or like Vivian did, use mind switching. So when it comes up, you don't allow that negative energy to trigger you to do a negative thing. And what I've found recently is if we don't, most people don't know how to do mind switching or they just can't. And each time that negative energy comes, it adds more negative energy. And I was talking to Amy, and we're all probably of the age we remember the CDs. We used to listen to CD for music, CDs. And I was also sharing this today. We all had a CD that had a scratch on it. And so like song 5, 2 minutes and 32 seconds into it, it always skips or stops. And each time that happens, we go, like you're in the middle of the song, you like it's, everything's going well, and then all of a sudden it stops. So what's interesting is we know that this has a scratch. We keep using it, but every time it scratches, we add more negative energy to it. In some cases, maybe you remember who scratched your CD. And then you say, oh, this person, I told her not, or I told him not to do this, and they did it, and they scratched my CD. Right? So that's more negative energy onto this little scratch. Now imagine if it's something as long as what like Vivian you shared since, college to now. Imagine each time you had to think about this or talk about it, the old Vivian, you would be adding more negative to this. So this little thing that happened years ago over time can become this big, massive thing. And that's like the fuel to negative energy that every once in a while, when we get triggered, we don't even know what we're going to burn in a sense. But negative energy is like that fuel. And once we have a negative energy fire, let's call it, it will burn all of that. And so those are those moments sometimes you see people perfectly fine, and then one little thing triggers, or you say something or something happens and they blow up as if they hate you or they want to like murder you, like it's that bad. But that's what happens, right? If you have gasoline, it is just fuel. And if you light a match to it, it doesn't stop and say, oh, wait, this is going to be bad. Let's stop. Let's read, it'll just do what it's intended to do, and it'll just burn because it's fuel. So I think as, Vivian shared this great technique of hers of mind switching, if we all can learn this, not only does it prevent that moment of, say, another argument, it prevents us from adding negative energy to what was originally a small thing. But each time we encounter this, if we don't have the ability to mind switch to avoid it, we're just going to revisit, and we'll just be repeating. And when we repeat, we usually put more negative energy onto it until one day, it's too much, and then you kind of lose it. So I imagine if you look back over the years, before Super Life Secret Codes, there's probably moments where this topic triggered things, especially closer to when it happened. I'm sure it was a bigger deal. And it doesn't matter that your mom would say probably to you that this is for your own good, it's going to help you. That is not enough positive energy at that moment to overcome the negative, right? And so that's one of those things that if we learn how to manage all this, then I think it'd have a better shot at, one, not making it worse, and then two, actually being able to overcome it. Vivian, go ahead.
Yeah, let me share another story. My mom, just like she forced me to change to major in accounting. So my mom is kind of like in charge of the family. So my son goes to medical school, and then my mom called me one day. My mom said, why do you ask your son to study as a doctor? You should not do it. And I said, Mom, I didn't force him. Okay, he chose the way. And then she tried to force me, say, don't let him study medical school. He should just study like a bio. That's it. And then at that moment, I was kind of like, why, Mom? You control my major right now. You want to control your grandkids' major. At that moment, I did have this mindset, but I quickly do the mind switching. I say, Mom, thank you. I know you love me. You know I'm the single mom. You feel like I work so hard to make life for myself and also my son. Okay, the tuition is very high, right? So I do my switch right away. I don't feel like, Ma, you do the remote control. I didn't think about this way. I think, Ma, I appreciate you love me so much. You don't want your daughter, live in miserable life, right? She needs to work so hard to make the living, something like that. So I do this quick mind switching instead of thinking she does the remote control. Thank you. Just this is what I want to share.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Vivian. See,
This is tough. Very good. Very good
yeah,
mind switching.
it is, but it's exactly what we're talking about. Like, look at how many years ago this was. And today, or I mean, this was recent, it's not today, but if you don't have that tool, that moment would still come back. And that's where I think a lot of people, they don't recognize this, that the energy becomes data and data will never just disappear. You actually have to do something with it. And so I think it's a great example that, Vivian brought up, from when she was in college to now when her son is in medical school. Like, that's the amount of time between, there's a lot of years between that. And that data could, if you don't manage it or yourself, it could trigger like it happened just the other day. And that's the thing I think we all have to be very cautious of about energy. Hopefully, when it's negative energy, you manage that. And then we all are striving for, if it's positive energy, this is where I'm really excited when I talk about this. The positive energy, that's the one that we want. That every time you think of it, you build onto it. So imagine if I think of Amy because she did something nice for me as my wife, then every time I think of it, I keep pushing that button and it gets bigger and bigger. And then pretty soon, like one little thing she did for me 10 years ago or 15 years ago, today becomes a mountain, like a massive thing. And that's the direction we want to go. And I think that's where the gratitude comes in, the love. If you keep, in Vivian, your case, you keep thinking that your mom is always looking out for you, wanting the best things for you. That's like the lens of gratitude. And then from there, you'll see all the things that she's done in your life to be helpful, to be a good mother, a good grandmother, even now that she's at that stage. That's the same, effect that can be for positive energy that a lot of us do with negative energy. So now that we know this, our job, is to get rid of that negative, mind switch, or just really even manipulate the negative energy to, remove it or convert it to something better. And then we just live our life focusing on these positive things, like with love and gratitude as the lens. And, Vivian's examples are a great example of how mind switching and using the right tools can overcome a many year old situation. So imagine what you can do with just everyday things and wanting to go, more positive with love and gratitude. So that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that with us, Vivian. Okay, moving on to the next section. Amy and let me get to the page. Okay. Looks like Amy, you start at strategy 5.
Can you give me the page number?
288, sorry.
Okay. Oh, of course. I want the abundance side.
Oh, wait. We're at the bottom of 288, right?
Okay. You're right. All right. Some people strike the jackpot or change their fortune overnight. Is this considered abundance?
The abundance we're referring to now is different from wealth. That wealth is brought forward from a previous life. What I am talking about now is a set of procedures that allows you to diligently, step by step, execute and implement towards achieving real abundance in life. Oh, do not get confused. Understand?
Understand, it is abundance achieved by real work and real efforts.
Correct. There is no need to envy people who suddenly win the lottery or get rich overnight. Those are unrealistic. What we need to learn is how to master our achievement toward abundance, which is within our full control. Students in our system who have achieved abundance feel as if they are protected by talisman all the time, not only for the present, but shall continue into the future too.
Understand.
You need to know this. Opportunities for support and assistance for people blessed with abundance are plenty at the emotional level, physical level, or spiritual level. When one is fully equipped with the three critical factors of time, place, and men, abundance will appear. The appearance is the outcome. You can do your own experiment on this and start practicing and stop paying lip service. A wish without action is nothing.
Master, if we encounter failure in our process towards abundance, are we allowed to express our emotion?
This has to do with your level of wisdom. Remember what I said. People who are depressed are those who are not careful with expression of their emotions. They made themselves susceptible to emotional upsets and end up creating bad fortunes for themselves. Okay, we can pause there and I will share. So as we talk about this section, being down to earth and abundance is the final destination. This concept is, something I think we've all worked with before, where think of something, as a destination. So you're on a road and you want to get to a destination. And in this case, abundance is that destination. Earlier, we talked about having situations where there's, negative energy and it triggers us to do certain things. And we need to use tools like Vivian shared about mind switching to overcome these moments and not let that negative energy make things worse. Well, there are times that we don't do that, and we do allow ourselves to keep repeating the same negative energy. Let's say that negative energy is being controlled by someone, or having a fight with someone, or disagreeing or not liking how someone, just their personality or something they did. But whatever it is, that data just sits there. And each time we approach that or we encounter it, the likelihood of it repeating itself and being negative again is there if we don't use mind switching. And so, like we talked about, something small years ago, if you constantly hit that and repeat it, you're adding more to it. So recently I had this situation with someone that I do have a lot of data with, some, a lot of it positive, and it's a relative. So it's a person, I've had many years of, interaction with, and then some negative. And then more recently, in the last year or two, there's some negative energy. There's like a kind of a bigger argument that, as what we were talking about, abundance as a destination. So think about on this road towards abundance, this argument has established itself like a roadblock. It's kind of in the middle of the road. It stops me. So sometimes as we're going through conversation with this particular person, if that moment arises, there we are again. We're going down this path. We want to, like, abundance could be, happiness, whatever. You want to have a good conversation, but something triggers it and it comes back up. Well, there's a period of time that when something triggered it and it came up, I stepped on the brakes, if you will. I stopped and maybe turn left, turn right, turn around, because I don't want to push that situation again, because it was a negative situation. It was a data for arguing and different things. So we avoid that. But before I turn around or before I make my, change, all of that old data, it resurfaces. I have to, I cycle through it again. And as a result, I add more to that, what I call a roadblock. If you do this enough, eventually what could have, you walk around or you climb over becomes really big. So I use the analogy like the first incident, that data is like a speed bump. And we tell ourselves, oh, we don't want to go over that because we don't want to create more problems. Let's just avoid it. But what we don't recognize is that when we avoid something that's negative, we already thought through again the negative issue. We've repeated it, we brought it back to life, but we've decided not to engage it. Well, unfortunately, with energy, once you stir it up, it becomes new energy and it will just deposit itself on that speed bump. So over time, the speed bump, imagine each time you get to this bump, you add more to it, you add more to it. Eventually, what was just a little bump turns into be like a curb. And then what a curb turns into be like a small wall. And then the small wall becomes a big wall. And then pretty soon, this little negative energy thing has become a massive roadblock to your pathway to abundance. A lot like what Vivian shared, something that happened to her years ago when she was in school, college, was a speed bump, was a big, maybe it was a small wall at that time. But over the years, if you keep revisiting it, even if you don't fight with that person again, but that memory's there, the data, it would build up, build up, build up. And so even to this day, I can only imagine, all the years later, how big that issue could be on its own, and now being triggered for Vivian's own son. It's amazing that she has the ability to mind switch to kind of correct all that. So in my case, I realized what this roadblock was doing, this negative data, and I decided to work through this bump or roadblock. And I use the analogy or the example, like now I'm actually climbing over this. Like I've chosen to climb over this, which means, in the figuratively speaking, it's, getting a little dirty or, struggling a little bit to get up and over this thing, because I really had this goal in mind. My abundance and happiness is behind this particular roadblock. And so I used all the tools of Super Life Secret Codes just recently to climb over this roadblock, to get past it. That was my goal. And it took a lot to do so. And in the end, I do feel like that I did climb it, peak this mountain of whatever, roadblock it is. I was able to climb over it and get to the other side. Now, getting to the other side, for me, the joy of that, or the kind of satisfaction of that or achievement of it, is now I have a better and more clear path to my abundance. However, because it's still data and it's there, if I look backwards, then I still see this big thing that has accumulated over the years. But now my direction is to go away from it, not towards it or avoiding it. So for me, it felt good. It's difficult. I realize now how difficult it was to go through it. And I'm really grateful to Master Sun and Super Life Secret Codes, because he has taught me these tools to allow me to kind of take this, chance, or, to kind of take to attempt this, right? I wouldn't, have thought about doing this if I didn't have the tools. But because Master Sun teaches us these tools, and it's in such a scientific way that you can kind of just it's almost like saving money. In this case, it's saving up your positive energy, building up positive energy. And when I felt like, hey, my positive energy is strong enough now that I think I can combat this negative, and I'm going to go for it, right? It's a lot like if you're, physically trying to run a marathon or do some sort of physical activity, you train, right? If you're running a marathon, you train in the beginning, 1 mile, 3 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles, 12, 20, 26. Then you're ready. When you can run 26 miles, now you're ready for the marathon. So this is something that through each day as we practice Super Life Secret Codes, managing my energy. And then the other night, I realized, like, I see what's ahead of me here. And it's kind of like, I think I have enough positive energy to make this climb and get past this. And so for me, that climb and getting over this roadblock or this, thing allows me to then pursue my path towards abundance. And as I look back and I think how many times I've avoided this, and how did I avoid it? Sometimes you turn left, you go down that way, and you're not going to where you want to go, but at least you're not making it worse. But then you go off track, and then you either have to come back or you have to now detour. And we all know the term detouring when you're driving. It usually takes you out of your way to get to where you wanted to go. Thus, it's called a detour. So if you think about it in life, there are so many detours that we do. And now that in terms of an energy perspective is a leak, right? What took 2 miles takes 2 miles. If you have to detour, now it takes 3, you've wasted a mile. So in our own lives, we want to think about all these things that we've detoured and taken the long way, or sometimes completely got lost because of a detour. And if you drive, you've probably experienced that, especially if you live in like LA, even Vegas now, there's so much construction. Sometimes you take a detour and you miss, the left turn or right turn, and now you're kind of lost. So in our own paths towards abundance, we have to recognize what is in front of us. And is it something like a roadblock, a speed bump, or like a road closure detour thing? And if it is, why is it there? And how can we manage this thing, but still get to our destination? And so I think that's extremely important. This section, again, the way Master Sun wrote this book, it's just one thing building on the other, until ultimately when you use all these tools like Vivian shared with mind switching, and with this case, it's kind of a positioning thing, recognizing you're on your path to abundance, but maybe some mistakes you've had in the past are now roadblocks along the way. So how do we use all the tools that we've been taught through this book from Master Sun? How do we use these tools to help us overcome the little obstacles, or big obstacles in some cases, in front of us that prevent us from getting to our destination of abundance? So, it's really great that Vivian shared what she shared, because it was a great example of the kind of the power of mind switching. And now, you guys all have this, had the opportunity to listen, and hopefully, use that as your own reference to tap into the mind switching technique to help you now stay on your path towards abundance, and maybe even overcome some of these obstacles along the way. So with that, I would like to now bring Amy back, and we will continue reading.
Okay.
So it looks like we are on page
290.
290. Oh yeah. And looks like you start.
What happened if our bad emotion had nowhere to go?
Hone your skill in facing failure. Model yourself after the Tumbler doll. Think of this. Today, if you cannot get up after a failure, will you be pitied? Will you be assisted? Maybe some people will give you a few words of kindness, and then off they go. Do you still want to stay on with self-reproach? Will your issues be solved by doing so?
Of course, I do not want to.
This is the reality of life. In life, if you start complaining to people, you talk about your failure and you talk about being depressed and sad. The most you can do is vent out your emotion, but who can really help you?
It is still me.
Exactly. When you are clear with the ideas and you know you're positioning well, you will see the meaning and value of matters differently. At least you shall assert yourself that it is time to stop playing a sad role in life. You know very well if you continue to do so, it is a negative point of no return. So naturally, you will know what to do.
I need to achieve a breakthrough quickly to transform my sadness and anger into positive energy.
Very well. Let the process turn into your experience and skill set. It is through continuous growth and learning that you toughen yourself to face the ever changing world to be able to embrace abundance. If you keep giving excuses every day, seeing everything not right, feeling everything wrong, do you think you will achieve bliss, good fortune, and abundance?
Definitely not.
When you acknowledge this being the reality, you shall stop using words that are negative and depressing. These words used by people who want to curse themselves. Students of Super Life Secret Codes must strictly abstain from using such words. This is proven in life. Once a person closes himself up, it is difficult for him to revive his life.
True, I have experienced this before, and the more I focus on my tunnel vision, the worse the situation got.
We need to be sensitive enough to be aware of where we stand at every second of every day. People who have met their Waterloo would know this better than anyone. You may be the master or expert at certain areas, but at one specific point of time, you lose your visibility of certain aspects and end up being defeated. Hence, we should hone our deduction and evaluation skill using these life simulation models. We get to expand our skill set and vision.
Master always tell us to better spread at brim than at bottom. This is one of the way, correct?
Yes, appreciate every situation that arises every day. In Chinese, there is an idiom that says, out of 10, there tend to be 8 or 9 matters that are below satisfaction. Hence, it is important that we apply what we practice transforming such challenges into leverage for us. If we don't, we will end up complaining about ourselves every day. This is only a thin line that separates poverty and abundance. Okay, we can pause here. Amy, would you like to share?
Yes, I love this chapter because we are in an ever-changing world. In page 291, Master San says to toughen yourself to face the ever-changing world, to be able to embrace abundance. And also on 292, it says appreciate every situation that arises every day. I think I had a tough time realizing that life is ever changing. I enjoy things that's very consistent and things that's more systematic because I don't really, I didn't enjoy things are unexpected. So I had a tough time. But after learning Super Life Secret Codes, Master Sun teaches the only thing that does not change is change. But I still had a tough time because I gradually opened my mind to it. But the things, for example, certain new things I face or encounter, or things I didn't know how to deal with, I had a tough time. But understanding, appreciate and being grateful and be positive, that changes everything. Recently, I do encounter changes in my life because my daughter is old enough. She's going to college and she's leaving home. And I have a tough time because all I remember is how cute she was. And recently my in-laws just chat with us and they were sharing with us some of the things are about aging. And they're the healthiest old couple I've known. They're always out there driving in the old age and going on long vacation, doing exercise, workout every day. They're so healthy. But when they were talking to us about we're getting old and this is what we're thinking about, and like where they're gonna be and how they're gonna live, and that really shocked me because I was not ready to hear that. I always expect them to be the same, so healthy. So that's a realization of change. And also I realize, like how economy and the world is changing so frequently these days. I'm sure a lot of the business owners have to deal with a lot of the new laws. For example, the tariffs that hit us early this year, and a lot of business owners had to pay extra and deal with the extra costs and so forth. So many things. So I realized, wow, it's so true. I need to be prepared. Maybe I thought I was pretty darn good, but maybe I was at an elementary level, but the world it's at a college level or even greater level. So how do I toughen myself up? It's to not to reject it or to complain or to feel like not again, because that mindset doesn't help help the situation. So as recently I was driving, I had a breakthrough and I realized that, hey, life life is about dealing with changes. And in life is like customer service. Imagine the customer service over the phone. What is their job for? They're there all day to deal with customers' complaint or issues. So they're ready. They have a SOP on how to fix problems. And why they're good at it, because they have planned, they have prepared. Therefore, they're not afraid of dealing with all sorts of customers. But my mindset was set to I only allow this many changes or I'm okay with these things. So then my mind is not fully open. So I realized, wow, I need to open up my heart to all things. And how about uplift my positive attitude? And how about I treat it as a happy thing? and treat each task and as a happy project and make it and treat it as an interesting project and to tackle this thing. It's like building a Lego set or like a playing with puzzles. So having a positive mindset positioning would change the whole entire attitude. It's kind of like the two hosts, they're sharing about how they switch their mindset. It's a positioning. We can be negative or we set ourselves to be positive, then the path is entirely different. So having that new mindset, it just becomes interesting and exciting. I had a friend who said to me, she said, I love problems. I love to solve problems. And her problem, she meant life problems. And she said it with a smile. And this was a long time ago, years ago. I was very puzzled by what she meant. And I was thinking, wow, she's a very, very strong lady. She must have, a different brain from everybody else. But now I realize, wow, that is a personality. And if we are, we put ourselves in a very negative or very timid or everything is going by the book, or we're not open to changes, then it's going to be very, very tough for the whole entire life and the whole entire world. So that is my takeaway and the lesson from this chapter. Another thing I want to share is that I recently was with Ryan. We went to a friend's place. He is he owns a business, a media company where he hires models and models slash influencers, and he put them in this big old mansion, and everybody has a room, and so this wonderful, nice place for the influencers slash models. And so Ryan and I went in there to visit, and I couldn't believe what I saw. These influencers were all in their mid-20s, young or early 20s, very young. And all of their rooms were like so messy, lack of a better word, just messy. And you see clothes, shopping bags everywhere, fill up the whole entire room. And none of their room, you can walk in without stepping on things. And all of their beds, you cannot just sleep on the bed. They're just piled like a mountain of clothes, and there are things trickling outside of the hallway everywhere. I couldn't believe the young people these days are so messy, and that's where they live. And I was thinking, and a couple days after I was studying 弟子规, and inside of 弟子规 says, if you cannot even take care of your space and make it tidy and neat, you cannot, if you cannot handle your job, you cannot handle bigger project. The reason being is because home is everyone's base. It's like our heart. If that part, that core is messy and you're okay with it, and everything else in this person's life would be messy. And even though this person maybe's job or business is doing pretty good right now, but down the road, this negative energy is going to find its way somewhere, and it's going to backfire. So what we're seeing is just this much time, but when you open up the timeline, there will be problems down the road. So the main thing is we really have to take care of everything from the beginning and make sure we learn things very well. So in life, we don't have a lot of problems, issues, negativity waiting for us somewhere, because everything has corresponding point. We cannot say that, oh, no, it's fine, this problem, it's okay, it'll be okay. But no, because the energy is going to travel, it's going to come out. For example, if somebody is very that bad temperament, always lashing out on people, and that from the outside or looking at a small period of time, maybe this person is okay, but down the road, this corresponding point can backfire. Maybe it would be on the health issue or a career issue somewhere. It's going to be a problem. So we really have to watch out and be very mindful for what we do and our behaviors and our personality and our habits, because these are all the foundation and the base of a person's core of a person's life. We got to take care of it. That is my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for your reading and sharing. Yeah, you make the point that it's these people who are maybe unorganized or different things. A lot of stuff that at times we don't think it's very important, but like we talked about earlier, the negative energy, little problems, and Master Sun teaches us that we have to address them right away, because if we don't, it is just kind of a magnet for more things to kind of build onto. As I kind of mentioned earlier, one small problem years ago will be revisited over time because it doesn't go away until we make it go away. It doesn't go away, and it'll keep collecting and getting bigger until one day it plus all these other things combined together overwhelm us or overpower us to maybe do things, say things, or think things in such a way that takes us completely off track towards abundance. And so again, I think something to emphasize tonight really is make sure that you are on your path towards abundance. You may not be there yet, but the question is just, are you on the right path, at least in the right direction? Because I know for a lot of us, myself included, there are times that I want to avoid something negative, and I turn the wrong way. There are even times when the negative is so strong, you almost go the opposite direction because you want to run from it. So if that is the case, you just want to be careful that what's behind that negative is not your abundance. And now you're running the wrong direction. So the tools that Master Sun teaches us gives us that ability to, if maybe little by little, but hopefully more quickly and sufficiently, get through some of these problems so that we can get back on track to our path towards abundance. So with that, again, I want to thank Vivian and Amy for their reading and sharing. And I also want to thank all the participants online. And last but not least, I want to thank Master Sun for providing us these great tools to improve our lives. Have a great rest of your night in the US and a great rest of your day in Asia. Thank you.